Welcome everybody again to TheTitleFight.com. Gordon Smile here. We have Big Steve G on the line, Brandon Stubbs. We're going to have a little roundtable discussion here about this weekend's fights coming up that just passed through for Memorial Day weekend. Friday night, what we dubbed as Mr. Friday Night Fights himself, Delvin Rodriguez, a fan-friendly regular on the network, came back again versus Freddy Hernandez in a bout that kind of left some questions. Most of us were predicting an easy win for Delvin. Kind of seemed to be the exact opposite. But Brandon, what was your overall take of this bout on Friday night?
I think Delvin had really a tough, hardcore opponent in front of him. I mean, Hernandez's style is one that's not the most aesthetically pleasing. He's going to come forward. He's going to be a little bit rough, a little bit rugged. And unfortunately, with his style, Delvin wasn't able to use his distance, work off the jab, and try to outbox him because Freddie was just too rough, too rugged for him to deal with. He kind of sort of figured it out at times late in the fight, especially in the back half of the rounds, but Hernandez's style just kind of made it real difficult for him to kind of get an early jump on it and take advantage of it.
He's been talking for a while. I mean, he missed the goose with the golden egg after he, lost to Trout, and Trout went on to bigger and better things there to face, Cotto and then obviously Canelo. He's been very vocal about still lobbying for a fight with Canelo. Steve, where do you think this positions Delvin at now that we've got to see this last performance of him? I mean, is he still in the running for lottery ticket with Canelo, or is he back to square one again and having to go through the ranks again to kind of get where he's wanting to be?
Well, I think he's back to square one. I think that his stock continues to drop with performances like this. I mean, Freddy Hernandez is supposed to be, an easy fight, an opponent for him, and he didn't, he took him lightly and didn't put on a great performance. So I don't think the way he's been fighting, he's not putting himself in any position to fight Canelo Alvarez. I don't think anyone's going to want to, demand to see a Delvin Rodriguez-Canelo Alvarez fight based off of his recent performances.
Well, moving on, we had another exciting bout that, a lot of people were really excited about, and for good reason. Their first time around, Carl Froch and Mikkel Kessler had a pretty good rugged war for the first bout, which fans were expecting it to pick up where it left off, and it actually sure did. I think both of you guys were tuning into it at the same time when all the action was taking place, and at moments you seen the fight kind of going one way or the other, even though Froch seemed to have the majority of the control of the fight. Brandon, what was your overall perception of going into this fight, what you thought it was going to be like, and what it actually was?
I thought it was going to be kind of exactly what it turned out to be. It was going to be a lot of back-and-forth action with really, Froch was in control, but it wasn't so to where you thought Kessler was completely out of it. Both men had the kind of the skills and the punching power to where a combo can completely change the landscape of the fight. And you saw that. You saw that at times where Kessler would look like he was out of it, but then all of a sudden he would turn it back on, but then Froch would be able to answer right back. It was it's fights like that are great for television and great for the sport because it was competitive the whole way around. I mean, granted, Froch was in control, but Kessler was never out of the fight. You never felt, okay, he's got to get a knockout. They got to throw in the towel. He's out of the fight. It was never anything like that to where it was still competitive, extremely fun, and entertaining to watch.
Great fight. And interesting commentary. Steve, I know you probably got to catch a little bit of Ward being the guest commentator there. Obviously, he has good reason to be paying attention to this fight. He's got some vested interest into possibly, the winner out of that fight, who they were, and, something even beyond that. But what was your take on Ward's overall commentary on this fight? Seemed like him and Kellerman just really weren't on the same page at any point in time there, and I found it kind of interesting. What was your take?
Well, I did notice that Andre and Max were, kind of butting heads. Andre, was pretty much putting him in his place, saying, no, this is what is going on, this is the deal right here, because, and Andre has every reason to feel that way because he knows both of these fighters very well. He was in the ring with them. He went 12 rounds each with them, so he knows a little bit more than what Max would know. I did see some points where Max and Andre started to be more on the level ground. Andre started to give Max a little bit of credit, but Yeah, I didn't think Andre did too bad, and Andre gave Carl Froch the utmost respect after the post-fight interview where, Froch, kind of bashed Andre Ward by saying he wasn't a crowd-pleasing fighter and that he's not the type of fighter that's going to bring it. He's not the type of fighter that, fans want to demand, to see on television, and Andre said, you know what, I'm not going to say nothing about it. This is Carl Froch's night. I'll give Froch all the credit in the world, and he'll save that for another day. Mm-hmm. So, I thought, Andre did an excellent job as commentator. I wouldn't mind seeing him on HBO again in the future.
Yeah, very politically correct there on the way he handled it. So, I'm interested to see where it goes from here. Brandon, where does the landscape go from here? I mean, where does Carl Froch go from here? Where does Andre Ward go from here? Do we see them, clashing again here down the road pretty soon? Do we see a trilogy out of this fight? Butte's in the mix again there somewhere, even though he got a whooping last time from Froch. What's on the plate?
Well, it can kind of go in a lot of different directions. One's going to kind of depend on what Kessler wants to do. If he said if he lost the fight, he was going to think about retirement. And after being in a fight like that, it's going to take him some time to kind of see where his head's at and what direction he wants to go. So that's going to be part of the factor of what happens. The next is, as far as Andre Ward goes, if you think about it, and granted, maybe Froch was bashing a little bit, but Froch brought up a valid point. He doesn't have a crowd-pleasing style, Ward. Who's going to actually pay big money to go see him? Mm-hmm. So the only big money fight really left for Andre Ward out there is possibly going to the UK and fighting Carl Froch over there, where he maybe potentially can make more money, because really outside of Oakland, where is he going to have huge drawing power? As far as Froch goes, I mean, he did have a contract with Butte to where they had a series of 2 fights, so that can be an option, but Butte's still on the hook for a fight here later this year once he heals up from injury. So, I mean, we'll see how that plays out, but it's pretty nuts. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry, though. Ward is number 1 in the division. Froch is number 2, and then it's just everyone else from that point.
Yeah, it's a very competitive division, and I really like that about it. I mean, you say that the other ones are competitive too, but this one just seems to carry a little bit different kind of weight with it, even though it is pretty clear, cut, and dry who's on the top of the food chain here. Moving on, we talked about another fight that's on the landscape here coming around the corner with Paulie Malignaggi and Adrian Broner. Brandon, you got a chance to talk to Paulie over May Day weekend, and he had some pretty interesting commentary there. He's always got some very good color commentary about whatever's going on with him. But since then, has your perception changed at all about how this fight's going to play out? Broner's been being Broner out there on the media. A lot of people getting a kick out of that. Some people getting turned off by it. Seems like he's kind of soaking up the attention that's been coming his way as we knew he would. But what's your take on this coming up about? Has anything changed as far as who your take's going to be on this fight, or are you still kind of on the same page there?
Kind of still on the same page. I think, if Paulie just goes in and actually boxes, he can outbox Broner. I will say this, as we get closer and closer to that date here, pretty much a month from now when they fight, it's going to be the banner, the war words is only going to get better. That's the real treat here for us, the fans, because the things that come out of these two's mouth and the things that they type on Twitter are pretty priceless. So, I mean, from that aspect, those two guys definitely know how to sell a fight. But I really think if Paulie comes in smart, sharp, and just goes in and just boxes him and not try to turn this into a war or anything like that, he's got a really legit chance of beating Broner. It's going to be interesting to see how Broner handles extra weight fighting and not having to worry about cutting that weight as he did here in his previous fights when he was 2 divisions lower. Mm-hmm. So that'll be another interesting to see how his body reacts to that. But really, I'm rooting for Paulie. I just hope he can just outbox him, go a full 12 rounds to get the W.
Definitely. Interesting on how that's going to play out there. One of Malignaggi's just previous opponents in Kano fought the guy that's returning to the ring after a little bit of a hiatus, and the legendary Shane Mosley, who actually had a pretty good performance down in Cancun when he faced him. Steve, I think you had a chance to check that out here too. What's your take on how that's going to play out with Shane making his way back into the sport?
I don't think it does much for Shane. Kano was, tailor-made for him because Kano, style fit right into Shane's hand. He's so slow, and Shane, the style that Shane could handle, style Shane could look good against. And it's a good way to get, for Shane to get a win. I don't think he's going to go anywhere in terms of moving up the rankings. I think Shane's just go out with a win and go into retirement. He's got nothing more to prove. He's proved everything he needs to prove in this sport. So it's time for him to hang him up.
Okay. Brandon, do you feel kind of similar to that, or what's your take on Shane coming back?
Shane didn't look bad, but he didn't look great. I got to agree with Steve Canelo. Kind of his style kind of played into that fight. But one thing that I will say definitely that Shane still does have, he still has that durability, still has that chin. He was taking shots. He was able to fire them right back. Didn't go down, did rock, but never went down. That's one thing about him that, throughout all these years, he's been able to be so durable, has not been really ever stopped by someone. As far as where he goes now, that's kind of interesting, because the thing is this. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he gets maybe another, mid-tier opponent of some sort, at 154 to 147 pounds. Get him another win, get his name back out there, get him on Showtime or something, and they use him as maybe one last big payday fight down the road with someone underneath the Golden Boy umbrella. This is a business at the end of the day, and his name still does hold some weight in the business. He gets another W, that puts him right up there to get another big ticket fight, big money fight with someone. So I look for Golden Boy to try to do something like that here with him towards the back end of this year, top of next year.
Right. And another one that's creating some buzz right now is some featherweights that have made some waves here for quite a while now. We got Mikey Garcia coming back up to face the always crowd-pleasing Juanma Lopez. Steve, this one excited you when you first started hearing about it. What's your take on this bout? We got a rugged slugger going up against a technician who really knows how to box, but also carries a punch with it as well. What's your take on it?
Well, Mikey Garcia's got the entire package, speed, skill, punching power. He may start out slow, he may start out filling out his opponent, but he can get in there and bang, and is, made for some exciting fights. Juanma Lopez, you're always going to get a good fight with him. He's got good skills. He's shown a lot of heart. Even though he's came off of two very tough losses against. Oh gosh, I forget his name. Yeah, Salido. Yeah, so who knows what Juanma Lopez has at this point? Maybe it's a little too soon to be taking a fight with someone on the caliber of Garcia. If you're going to ask me who takes this fight, I'm going to have to go with Garcia. I think his speed and power is going to be a little too much for Lopez. He's going to do to Lopez what Lopez did to a lot of other good fighters on his way up. The way he embarrassed guys like Stephen Luevano and Daniel Ponce de Leon. But in either case, regardless of who wins this fight, it's going to be a barn burner.
Nice. And Brennan, what's your take on it? Are you along those same lines? You think Garcia's just going to come in and kind of wipe the floor with him, or?
Garcia is probably one of my favorite young fighters to watch out right now. Like you said, he's got all the tools in the box to get the job done. The way he just pretty much demolished and destroyed Orlando Salido, I really don't see Juan Manuel Lopez having a legit chance. He'll make it interesting in a couple of rounds, but Garcia's just going to just outwork him, outboxing, just breaking down. And if it goes more than 8, I'll be surprised. But I do see Juan Man not having a good night at all. It's going to be a very long, harsh night for him dealing with Garcia.
Well, fight fans, there you have it from the experts' mouths themselves, Steve Gallegos and Brandon Stubbs. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.